How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to CM42 TV and welcome to this SummerSlam 2024 predictions video. We don't chat about wrestling a lot on the channel anymore, but it's really something that I've been desperately craving recently with so much stuff going on, so much news and so many shows and all the big companies kind of doing really well and that sort of thing. I just feel like, maybe I should get back to making some wrestling content, that very bad word, on CM42 TV. So if anyone's out there, if anyone's watching, please let me know if you would be interested in seeing some regular wrestling content, whether it's talking about the pay-per-views or the PLEs or Raw, Dynamite, SmackDown, things like that. I don't know, I'm quite happy to chat about whatever. But yeah, this is for SummerSlam 2024, the biggest party of the summer. And it is, I can't believe it's happening again. It's earlier this year, but last year I did just watch 2023's SummerSlam because I never watched it again after watching it live. It was a really long show and I don't remember it too fondly. So I watched it again and I enjoyed it, but it is very long and it's probably going to be the same this year. But yeah, it was an okay show last year, not anything too bad. I'm going to share some thoughts on it on my kind of wrestling burner Twitter account, X account, which is at Rest Connection. So link is in the description if you want to follow me for all my wrestling thoughts. I would just tweet them on my normal Twitter, which is at CM42TV, but because I've got so many non-wrestling followers, I just don't want to spam. And I always have lots to say, so I just never feel comfortable spamming my main Twitter with all the wrestling content. So the one I used to have for the Wrestling Connection podcast has now kind of turned into my kind of wrestling Twitter account. And speaking of the Wrestling Connection, which was the podcast I did every single week through the pandemic, we are returning, not that the pandemic's returning, touch wood, but we are returning with the Wrestling Connection as part of the Good Bit podcast feed. So if anybody is subscribed to the Good Bit podcast, that is my main kind of focus and priority on this channel now, my weekly podcast series, mainly about cinema. If you're a fan of that, thank you very much. If you watch that, thank you very much, or listen. But there will be a monthly podcast series. I guess this goes back to me wanting to talk more about wrestling. A monthly podcast series. Myself and Glenn are relaunching the Wrestling Connection as part of the Good Bit. So we'll have once a month on the Good Bit, the cinema podcast, some wrestling talk as well. So maybe I'll partner up on YouTube as well on the kind of the weeks that I don't do wrestling content on the podcast. So there'll be long form episodes and stuff that you can look forward to out there. Right, SummerSlam. So as I was saying, I was watching last year's one, had no real recollection of it, but now it's time for SummerSlam 2024. I have the matches in front of me right here. And it is overall a really good card. We're in this amazing era right now. We cannot take this for granted, everybody, right? We took AEW between 2020 and 2022 for granted, or 2023 for granted. I'm still a huge AEW fan, but obviously it's kind of dropped off the kind of mainstream scale because WWE got so hot recently, but there's a reason why WWE got so hot, and it's because it's been really, really good. And also because we don't have the handcuffs on anymore that we used to have with the creative and the wrestlers and the promos and the commentary and things like that. And I can imagine the creative freedom is only going to get more when they move to Netflix. And there's all these things online about who's the first person to say the F word on Netflix. That's probably not going to happen right off the bat, unless they come out first episode, they do like Drew versus Punk, first blood match or something, just go completely rogue and violent for the first match on Netflix. But what a time. What a time. We're about to have the John Cena retirement tour. We've got CM Punk back, Drew McIntyre doing the best work of his career. We've got 2 world champions, which I love. I know people prefer the one title, but I've always been a believer and there should be a world title on both brands, as they should be 2 separate shows. Cody Rhodes is on fire. Roman Reigns is about to return. My God, what a run we're on. Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan having an amazing feud storyline that started off quite hokey and I wasn't a fan of, and then all of a sudden it's just now hooked me. So yeah, that's why, when WWE gets hot, and of course it was really hot at WrestleMania time with The Rock and stuff like that, but obviously it always takes a dip after WrestleMania. And I didn't talk about WrestleMania, but I loved it this year. Obviously I did my little vlog video from being at Clash at the Castle, which was a massive deal too. But SummerSlam I'm sure is going to be great. And also after that, Bash in Berlin, I think it's going to be a great show too. You should imagine the German crowd is going to be unbelievable. And then we go into Bad Blood, which I can only imagine is going to be Punk and Drew. Everyone's talking about Hell in a Cell. Who knows? Well, let's start with that then. CM Punk, Drew McIntyre, the main match essentially. It's not for a title, but these 2 guys are both so great. They have created their story. And I know obviously Drew I don't know how he felt about Punk beforehand. It was played up that he didn't like him and stuff. It could all be working, brother. But my God, they have turned this into something. Obviously, the stories were going to be Punk and Seth. When Punk first came back, it was maybe going to be Punk and Roman at some point. But after Drew accidentally injured him at the Royal Rumble, it's now turned into Punk and Drew, and it has become this amazing storyline. Now, do I think the storyline should have gone as far as Punk costing Drew the World Championship 3 or 4 times? Maybe not. I think the WrestleMania one was great because it led to the cash-in. I think the Clash at the Castle one, which hurts me to say, was great because of the heat that it got and the mainstream buzz and stuff, and I was there for that. And I think the fact that Drew then, injured Punk in Chicago and stole his bracelet and stuff like that, great. The whole thing costed him the Money in the Bank. I get it, right? he's cost him again. It's just one thing after another. But it was maybe a bit too much for my liking. Maybe I wouldn't even have Drew win the Money in the Bank, Unless you have him win the Money in the Bank, he's got the briefcase, and you just can't imagine Drew being all serious carrying about this briefcase. And then put the title on him at some point and have Drew and Punk for the title. But I just got a feeling they're going to want to have this title on Gunther for ages. I just feel like this is going to be a long reign incoming. What was it, 666 days, 666 days with the Intercontinental Championship on Gunther? I don't know if it'll, go that long, but potentially up until at least WrestleMania. But my God, it might be till next SummerSlam that Gunther's going to have this title, but that's just my opinion anyway, so I guess I'm not going to do it for the title, unless they have Gunther lose the title, but I don't think so. So, Drew and Punk, I think, I don't know, man, I think Drew needs to win just because of, everything that's happened. I don't think they'll have Punk lose his first big singles match back. Obviously, the caveat here is that Seth Rollins is the referee. If I was in charge, if I was Mr. Levesque, I would not have had the special guest ref stipulation as the first match. I know their hands are kind of tied with some stuff, but and what would Seth be doing at SummerSlam? But I think I would have had this big grudge match at SummerSlam. Then there's some form of schmoz, tomfoolery happen to the point where we need the referee maybe at the Bash in Berlin, or make it a 3-way, and you know what, they might make it a 3-way at Bash in Berlin anyway, and then have the big blow-off at Hell in a Cell, if that's at Bad Blood, or just even if it's not Hell in a Cell, or just a match, a big violent match at Bad Blood with Drew and Punk to end the storyline. That's probably how I would have done it. I'm not sure how I feel about the launch pad of this, like the first match they're going to have, having all these kind of shenanigans. But that's what we've got. So, and I love Seth, so there's no real reason why I'm complaining there. But, I think Drew should win, because, he's been battered in this whole feud, but I've got a feeling they'll have Punk win, they'll do a return with Drew win, and then they'll lead to the big blow-off match at Bad Blood. Or maybe, they'll draw out to, like, Survivor Series or something like that. I mentioned the World Heavyweight Championship with Damien Priest defending his title against Gunther. Now, I can only imagine that at WrestleMania, they must have told Gunther, right, you've got this till WrestleMania, because he's clearly not had a great reign, right? Let's be honest. Now, has some things, happened. He got knocked out in that match at Money in the Bank. He got his foot caught in the ropes at Clash at the Castle, which everyone was laughing at him. I was more laughing at the fact that Drew wasn't helping him at first. He was just kind of kicking him. But it looked horrendous. First of all, his leg gets all twisted, but he totally necks himself on the apron on the way down. That was the hard part. That was the sore and scary part. So he's not had the best title run, Damien Priest. No fault of his own. He's doing really well, actually. I quite like Priest, actually. I know everyone was like booing him and stuff at Clash at the Castle, but I quite like Priest. But my God, yeah, it's even when he came out recently on Raw, he got a massive babyface reaction because he's obviously going up against Gunther. But he's really marketable as just his look, and he's now going to split from the Judgment Day along with Rhea, I'm assuming. And they're going to have Dom, Finn, JD, Carlito, and Liv. That's my guess. Little spoiler for my later prediction as the new Judgment Day. And you could have Drew and Priest and Rhea going off on their own. But yeah, I would like to think that Priest's going to have a longer reign, but it's just not going to happen, is it? Gunther has been, absolutely groomed for this moment. He's been positioned in a way where he seems untouchable. He has obviously got a couple of losses in his L column, but not many, man. Obviously, if you're going to lose at WrestleMania against someone like Sami Zayn, you need to lose the title at some point. So I had no problem with him losing there. I wasn't sure if Sami was the right guy to do it, but I'm a huge Sami Zayn fan, and it's kind of worked out because he's still on a kind of main event kind of level. But yeah, man, having him win the King of the Ring, he's been in the final 2 or 3 at the past few Royal Rumbles, this really long Intercontinental title reign, all this kind of unstoppable kind of booking that they've got going on for Gunther recently. I just can't imagine him losing. If he's going to lose to someone, it's probably not going to be Priest. So Gunther's winning this world title. and prepare for a lengthy world title reign. Because you never know when Cody's going to lose this title, because he's probably better on the chase, not the TV show. Right, I mentioned Sami Zayn there. Sami Zayn versus Braun Breaker for the Intercontinental Championship. First of all, I like Braun Breaker. I love his new theme song. I really checked out of NXT when he was kind of on top, so he's still relatively new to me. And I've got this thing, I've talked about it a lot, especially when I did the Wrestling Connection on a weekly basis. Once you've got me in, once you've hooked me, I'm in. You know, you've got me for life, I'm your fan now, you know, but you need to hook me. And it happens all the time, and that's why, like, I like loads of wrestlers. There's very few wrestlers I dislike, you know, because at some point they've had a good match, they've done a good promo, I like the person that I've seen in an interview or whatever, and you've got me as a fan now, you know. So Braun Breaker's still, you know, working on getting me, you know, as his fan. But it can literally, I'm so, you know, simple-minded like this, but it can be something as simple as having a great theme song. Like, I love watching your entrance and stuff, but you hook me in your entrance, so that's done wonders for loads of wrestlers that haven't been great, that have loved their theme song, you know. So it's so fun. Or maybe not their theme song, but their entrance and their presentation and their aura is the word the kids use these days, isn't it? So yeah, so he's still working. He's getting me, Braun Breaker. He's also been booked very, very well too as this unstoppable killer. I'm not sure having him lose already at Money in the Bank was a smart idea. Just going to say that right now. Don't think they should have pinned him. Certainly not pinned him clean. But I think, and you know, he should have done something else. He should have been in a ladder match maybe. He can lose that without being pinned, or probably lose it. And then win the title at SummerSlam. Obviously it's going to be big at SummerSlam, and I guess he's taken the loss already, so he's kind of worked for it and earned it and stuff. But that's not the type of character he is, you know. He doesn't need to be the underdog that's lost. And I know that kind of positioning him as this weird kind of tweener, like, is he a heel, is he a face? Don't know, but obviously Sami Zayn's the babyface in this match, so this will be the crowning moment for Braun Breaker. I would have just had him win this off the bat. I wouldn't have even had the match at Money in the Bank and have this one as his first big title match that he wins. And they're going to, you know, have a new big star on their hands here, so they're doing really well booking this guy. So Braun Breaker, not big on the name, but there you go. Also the fact they've got another Braun, you know what I mean? It's confusing. I'm not like Vince McMahon. I'm certainly not like Vince McMahon. Let me take that back. Some stuff came up, Ariel. But just in terms of, like, obviously I've never agreed with that. There can only be one Shane. There can only be one this. But Braun is such a unique name, and you know, Braun Strowman is such a unique character. Don't know. Anyway, Logan Paul, LA Knight for the United States Championship. Now, I was absolutely convinced that LA Knight is going to win this one, but I'm talking about a lot of title changes here. Are they going to do all these title changes? Not sure, man. They're probably not going to change the women's titles, so maybe they will do 3 title changes with the Intercontinental, the World Heavyweight, and the United States. I mean, it makes total sense to have LA Knight win this one. He won the Slim Jim Battle Royal at last SummerSlam, and that was meant to be like the big moment where he's finally arrived as a big star. But I'll tell you something, he was extremely popular before that Battle Royal last year. I was in the O2 Arena for Money in the Bank 2013, and he was by far the most popular person in that room, maybe next to John Cena, who made a surprise appearance that night. I love the fact that he's just seen us popping up at these Money in the Bank shows. We're probably going to do like a podcast about like the legacy of John Cena and what we would do for this last run, but we're really lucky that we're going to get another run of John Cena. I'm looking forward to seeing what he does next year. And should he win the 16th world title or the 17th world title? I think so. I think that'd be a nice little moment. Maybe he's the one to beat Gunther. Who knows? God, wouldn't there be outrage? My God. Right, yeah, LA Knight to beat Logan Paul. I think Logan Paul's done a great job as US champion. And he might just continue the title just because he's doing so good with like promoting the belt and stuff. But I believe LA Knight is going to win that title. Yeah. Right, women's title matches now. Bayley defending against Nia Jax. I have to admit, this is the match that I'm least excited for on the pay-per-view for the WWE Women's Championship. Like Bayley a lot. I think she's doing a lot of good work. I can imagine that she's going to probably retain this title here. I wasn't, you know, there wasn't much of a story here other than the fact that Nia won the Queen of the Ring, but then Bayley said something like, you're clumsy and stuff, and it's like pulling the curtain back a little bit, and I don't think you should be putting the title on someone that is potentially clumsy. I don't know. Right, Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley for the Women's World Championship. I've always liked Liv Morgan, but she's never been someone that I've been like really into or whatever and thought she was really good. Whereas Rhea is one of my favourite wrestlers for multiple reasons, as I'm sure people understand. But she's just awesome. She's got that aura about her. There's that word again. And you did kind of notice when she wasn't there, especially in the Judgment Day. Although I do think, Priest and that did a good job holding down the Judgment Day. But my God, they have turned their story from being silly and what are they doing? Liv fancies Dom, and like Dom's not wanting to go for her, and it's one of those storylines that we would have got back in the day that just would have checked out, or would have checked out in my mind. But all of a sudden it just got really good. And was it because Rhea came back? I don't know. She's that big of a star. But they were doing cool stuff, Dom was like falling on her and all that sort of stuff, and they were getting Ray involved in that. It was funny and enjoyable, but it wasn't something that was really hooking me, Then Rhea came back and all this stuff, Liv like in his head and that sort of thing, has been really good actually. They've really turned this storyline around for me anyway, and probably, and thinking about it now, talking about it, it's probably the return of Rhea, right? But yeah, they've done a lot of good work in their storyline, considering the fact that Rhea's been injured. And Liv's done a really good job, turning into this kind of this brat kind of character. And I think they'll have a really good match. And yes, I think it's going to happen, everybody. Dom is going to turn on Rhea and is going to side with Liv. Liv is going to join the Judgment Day. Rhea is going to be a total babyface if she isn't already. And go off on her own and have another amazing run as a champion somewhere down the line. But I think Liv will win the match, thanks to Dom. Right, and then the last match on the show, I guess it's going to be the main event for the undisputed WWE Championship, Cody Rhodes and Solo Sikoa. Yeah, I think this isn't a match that's really that I really want to see. It's not like a SummerSlam main event in my head. We've seen the match a lot on Raws and that sort of thing. Cody's probably my favourite wrestler, so I'm happy to watch anything. I like the main event factor of it and the main event feeling of the match. I love those kind of world title matches that get a lot of build up and stuff. They've done a really good job with Solo. Solo's done a good job. This new bloodline with Jacob Fatu and the Guerrillas of Destiny and things like that. It's been really good. Turning on the Wise Man and stuff. Are we going to see the return of Roman Reigns? It seems to be the talk of the town. But will it happen? I don't know. But I think when he does come back, it's going to be unbelievable. But you just think though, if he's going to come back, it's going to be after the match. But I reckon Cody's going to win this. I don't see him losing to Solo. So what's going to happen there? They might just do the match and Cody will win and that'll be the end of it. Or they'll put that lower third up on the bottom of the screen, thinking the show's over. The Triple H NXT Takeover special and Survivor Series 2023, and then it fades, and then something big happens. Roman might return then, but he's got to return to do something to Solo and the rest of the bloodline. It might just be a face off after the match or whatever. But yeah, are they leading to War Games? Are they going to do Roman and his team versus Roman and the Usos versus the new bloodline? Who knows, man? But it's looking like that's what it's going to be. But this will be fine. It's going to be the SummerSlam main event, whatever. It should be the main event because it's the world title, it's the main title. And Cody should win. I know they're kind of saying, maybe we should have the title off of Cody and have him chase it. But he just chased it for so long. And it was such an epic moment at WrestleMania. I really don't think he should be losing it before WrestleMania. And if he's going to be wrestling The Rock at WrestleMania 41, he's not going to lose the title then either. So lots of stuff could happen, but I'm going to predict, here it is, Cody Rhodes retains at SummerSlam. So it's going to be a good show, 7 matches, which I like. Triple H is doing the whole kind of 5-match again NXT TakeOver pay-per-views recently. I, on pay-per-views, would prefer a little bit more. Sounds silly. 6 matches. 7's a good number, I think, for a pay-per-view. I think it's good to keep it moving. There's a lot of dead air in the 5-match pay-per-views, especially at Money in the Bank. I didn't watch it live, and I was told that it was good I didn't watch it live because there was I think it was an hour and 40 minutes total combined time between matches of just like filler stuff. So can you imagine being there live? But I guess it gives people time to go to the toilet and that and get a pint. But yeah, thanks for watching. Let me know what you think and what your predictions are for SummerSlam. Let me know if you'd like to see some more wrestling content on a more regular basis. I would happily do it. It's just whether people are going to watch it. Is it worth doing that sort of thing? Am I going to just spam the channel? Don't know. But it's my channel. I can do whatever I want, I guess. But yeah, I would do thoughts on Raw and predictions for stuff. Big news. Obviously, we've got this AEW TV news coming up very soon. It seems to be drawing closer every day. So I guess I'll talk about that for a bit. And we'll be having this long-form podcast monthly series on The Good Bit with the return of the Wrestling Connection. I'm so excited. We're going to be chatting about Clash at the Castle and our experience being there live on the return episode of the Wrestling Connection in a couple of weeks' time, or not a couple of weeks, but very soon, next week I think. But yeah, thanks for watching. Take care of yourselves. Enjoy SummerSlam, everybody. Love, peace, and hail, Grease. I'll catch you all next time.